Imagine if you'd saved up all your money to have an extension done to your home. And when the workers came round to do the construction, instead of extending your home into a lovely conservatory, they started knocking down the inner walls and they made your home smaller and smaller. And then, stranger still, imagine if you were happy about that, you were accepting of it, that you found it easier to go along with that than to challenge the builders. Well, that's a little bit about how mind control works. And I realise mind control probably sounds like something from a conspiracy or something supernatural or something from Derren Brown, but something that I feel really keenly aware of is that mind control techniques around us all the time. They're being used on us constantly, and they're even using them on each other inadvertently, and we need to become really conscious that we're doing that, and we need to be able to protect our own mind from the way that it's being infiltrated. I want to explore this topic, and I'm going to be looking at two books. One is by Robert Lifton, who interviewed prisoners of war and looked at what he called thought reform, the ways in which their thinking had been sabotaged. And the other one is by an author called Stephen Hassan, who was a Moonie and managed to think his way out of that cult think. So these men really had some real expertise as to how insidiously our thoughts can be messed with, the principles by which that took place, and some ways to become more conscious of it and to evade it. So to start off with, I want to look at the first principle that Robert Lifton identified, which is called Mileu control, or we can think of it as being control of the environment, control of communication. Now, we might not be a prisoner of war who's sealed up in a cage and not able to speak to his or her comrades, but in many ways, our environment and the communication in it is being controlled. So this could take place, if we take the media for an example, when particular stories are cherry-picked by news agencies in order to persistently reinforce the narrative that they want to promote. That's a form of milieu control. Another way it takes place is in organisations, schools, or friendship groups, when everybody buys into a particular narrative, only reinforcing information is sought. And what happens is that this becomes internalised so that we create a self-policing situation, and even a sub-personality starts to grow. So imagine that you're talking with a group of friends and you get onto a particular topic of politics or religion with like-minded thinkers, but you've got particular concerns or something doesn't quite feel right to you. Well, what will often happen is that we start to self-police in those situations so that we really internalise the confinement that's coming down from the media into the group, and then we really own it ourselves. And even the words and expressions that are being used within that group are thought-terminating cliches. They're designed to embellish a particular perspective or to detract from people who think a different way. So this first principle, milieu control, is about the environment that is created for us or that we create for ourselves, and how we reinforce it with other people, and how we internalise it and we self-police in terms of the thoughts that we think and the way in which we deal with the evidence that we've received.